Perfect. Live from Houston, Texas, and literally, I am now in Houston, Texas. Welcome to welcome everyone to today. What makes you tick? I'm really excited that you're here. Before we dive in, just a few quick housekeeping notes to make this a great experience for everyone today. Know that today is special. Today, I have a great guest, number one, man I admire, which I'll get to in a second. But I have actually been invited, and I am honored to be at the kickoff of the Houston Energy and Climate Week, which will be in September. Amazing group of people here. Love what they're getting ready to do. This will be the second one ever in Houston, and the man I have today has a bunch of energy. Before we get to that, let's go through a couple of rundowns. This is an interactive live session. You're encouraged to participate, ask questions, connect with us. To ask a question, just drop it in the chat. We'll bring key insights, any conversation, any questions that you want to ask. We'll use LinkedIn's DM, the comment section for every event posting. Any behind the scenes coordination, feel free to message me if you have a tech issue or a tech question. If you get disconnected, LinkedIn does have this occasionally that will happen. If you get disconnected, just log back in. If you miss something, you can watch it in its entirety once it's recorded. We know that you may be listening while commuting or working, or you may be at the Energy Week kickoff, who knows? So just engage however you can. Even quiet listeners are important to our community, so we welcome you. Now, let's get started. My guest today is a gentleman that I've admired since we first met when I called on him for his business, to gain his business as part of Gordon Food Service. Much like last week's guest, Joey Sanchez, he also has Cuban descent. He was born in Cuba. He moved to, in his words, this great country in 1979 and has been a contributor and a great citizen ever since. He has been in the hospitality business ever since moving here. When we met, you could absolutely see his love for people and his love for the hospitality industry. His story began here in Houston at some of the greatest Houston area restaurateurs, Papa's, Carrabba's, and The Palm, where, of course, he's learned many of the insights that he shares in his own restaurant, which he opened in 2006. And he's the owner of Eden Table in Magnolia. Great food. It is a great atmosphere. Love the upgrades, by the way, that you've done. Personally, he's been married to his wonderful wife, Maria, for 33 years. He has 3 sons, 1 daughter. He is one of the strongest men of faith that I know. He's pro-life, pro-gun, and with a passion for storytelling, and he using the media to impact people's lives. Oh, by the way, he's also an actor and has done several movies, which we'll talk about going on. So if you've never met my guest, Mr. Ulises Larramendi, how are you today, sir?
Doing well, Brian. What an intro. We can pretty much end right here. This is good.
Look,
Thank you. Thank you for the kind words, man.
no, and you know me, I'm going to speak exactly how I feel. And this is about trust and clarity. So I'm going to make sure that, I want to know, and the people want to know, what makes you tick? Give us a little background. Tell us about your story.
Well, I've enjoyed our relationship and our friendship. And, part of the reason why you and I did business is not because you sold goods for Gordon's, but because you and I had good chemistry, which, I think 99% of the time, relationships and sales and business in general, you're not really buying a product, you're buying this right here, right? So I think if more salespeople understood that, they would be more successful, like you were. But
Thank you.
we left a country that had no freedom and came to the United States and have had the freedom to live our dreams. My dad, I always ask him what was it like to make that decision that day to leave his country of birth, to look at my mom and say, we're leaving and we're never coming back. Can you imagine, if here in the
No,
United States, if you
I'm
had
sitting
to
here thinking,
if you had to say to your kids, yeah, we're moving to, I don't know, Portugal, and we're never going back to America, and our family, we're never going to see them again.
Yeah.
But we have to leave because there's no freedom here, and we cherish freedom. So we came here. America opened its arms, adopted us, and it's been we've had a great life. God's blessed us with more than I can talk about on this show right now. But yeah, what makes me tick, man? I love. I think hospitality was always in my blood. My family has been in
Mhm.
hospitality. Not my father is a mechanical engineer,
That's
and
right. Yeah, we talked
he
about that.
thought he thought I was going to be a mechanical engineer too. But no, I just have a passion for serving and being hospitable and taking care of people, and my heart's always been in that direction,
Mhm.
serving, and more not just serving as a server, but the word serving, serving others, man, serving your spouse, serving your friends. I mean, serving is a huge term, and that's what makes me tick, So I've applied that to the many things I've done in my life, and in the restaurant business has served me well. No pun intended. But yeah, um,
And
my age, yeah,
so as for us, being in the restaurant business, it's not an easy business.
no, no,
And
at all.
so, you know, part of me really loves it, and part of me just it's tough. It beats you up. How did you connect that love and let that love drive you?
Man, I I got the bug for being in the business first as a dishwasher when I was in high school.
Yeah,
Just loved the pace, loved the energy, loved the camaraderie, loved everything that was happening in that little Marriott cafeteria inside of Texas Instruments in Sugarland. Just
yeah,
I just couldn't get enough of it. And then I finished high school, started college as a mechanical engineer student, and just pursued a job in the restaurant business. A little concept called Papacitos was opening up,
uh huh,
and nobody ever heard of it, and I was lucky enough to get hired there as a waiter. And the way that we did things there, and the way that everything flowed, and how the Papases ran their systems and their company, and the passion that they had for training and discipline and taking care of people, I just loved everything. I absorbed it. I ate it up, and I got the bug, and I never got out.
wow,
The day that I told my dad, I'm changing my major. I'm not going to be an engineer. I don't think he talked to me for like 6 months,
oh,
but I broke his heart. I know I did. But now he's a silent partner, and we have a great. My dad's the greatest man that. My dad's brilliant, brilliant man. I would have never been able to fill his shoes in that industry. Love the man. He's been a rock to me.
yeah, yeah,
I think you know fathers have a huge responsibility. My dad took care of his, so I'm trying to do that for my sons, but and my daughter. But that's another story because she's adopted and she's not in connection with us. But the boys and I have a great relationship. I'm trying to nurture that and make
yeah.
sure that they do the same for their kids. But yeah, man, that's what drives me in the business, man. Just you're right. It's long hours,
It's
and it's a
long.
lot of it's a lot of hours, a lot of hours, a lot of work. Is hard on a marriage. I don't
Yeah,
think Maria and I would have lasted 33 years if I hadn't met her in the business and she
correct.
understood what she was walking into.
Uh huh.
But I think that when I get up, I'm exhausted sometimes because I close the night before. I'm driving to work. I'm praying, Lord, just give me the energy to get through the day. And then I walk into the restaurant, and it's on, man. I
Uh huh.
I, I don't even think about my physical state anymore. It's immediate. As soon as I turn that key and I open the back door and I walk in, I don't feel tired anymore. It's and I'm 62, so my knees, I don't have the knees of somebody who's been in their career. I've been in this business 4 decades. But
Yes.
when you're doing something else like, IT or something that requires more computer work, I don't know. But when you're on your feet doing 15,000 steps a day,
Yes.
after 4 decades, that catches up with your skeletal integrity.
Yeah.
So, I but that physical pain goes away as soon as I walk in the door.
Well, it has to do with
Um,
purpose. You're like
exactly.
one of my, and we've talked this many times. One of my drivers is people understanding their why and people understand their purpose.
Yeah.
And being able to understand and fit into your purpose drives you, because it's not work. Even
Yeah.
though you're working, it's a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
And I know for me, one of the things that I've done is I've been reading books, and we're talking about purpose. Purpose Driven Life was one of those books for me that helped me when I was going through a hard time. And
Yeah.
it's funny because when I went through my divorce, it it's, and if you, I know you know, but if our listeners doesn't know, it's a 40-day journey to discover God's given purpose, your God given purpose. And there were 3 lessons that came out of it. You know, make sure that when we leave, the only thing that's going to follow us is your character. You can't take
Mm.
your money and everything with you. 2, that temptation and patience are both linked together. And then your purpose statement should be more than your goals. It's your guiding compass. And the funny thing is you're talking, I'm listening here and I'm hearing that, but for what we've done and for what I'm trying to do, I think purpose is a connector.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that I'm listening to you going, oh my God, you're the person that is purpose.
Well, and we have to be open to what God's trying to show us when it comes to purpose,
Yeah.
because a lot of times we think, well, I listened to someone the other day talking about how he's a very successful musician,
Mm-hmm.
and what happens if you break your fingers and you can't play the guitar anymore? So your purpose is not to be a musician, but your purpose is to be open to whatever God wants to use you for at that time in your life. And my purpose when I was younger was hospitality. As I'm getting older, I'm seeing another purpose starting to brew and come up into my realm of gifts and talents. So it's not just one thing your whole life.
Yeah.
God can use you for many, many things. But man, when people are hopeless, when people are sitting there depressed, purpose is a big deal, right? It's really what they can't find. They don't know why am I getting up in the morning?
Yes.
I always knew when I got up. Sometimes Maria calls me and goes, "Why are you still doing there? You know, you closed 2 hours ago. Why are you still there?" I'm like, because I love this, because I got to finish a lot of stuff that I've been wanting to do, and right now it's quiet, and I
Yes.
can do it when nobody's here, and and she understands, but it's the thing that you put in. There's no such thing as a 40-hour week,
No. Mm-mm.
and I have to say that it's not just a restaurant business. If you want to be successful for your young audience or for whoever, I think every business owner that's listening can confirm that there's no 9 to 5.
Yeah.
You're working 12, 14. You don't even look at the clock, man. You don't know. It doesn't matter when you clocked in and when you clocked out. You're working,
Yeah. And
and
look, one of the things that I've seen is with athletic, I'm laughing because so I have to stop. Sorry. When this week, I wrote my articles that are going to go out this week, and one of them I wrote was about championship programs. I've
mm,
seen it on baseball. I've seen it with Gordon's. I've seen it with and I've seen failures. That extra work, you can have the most talented people, but if you're not willing to do that you need to do and the extra that you need to do, then you're not being successful in the way that is best fit for you. Would you agree?
man, when you listen to somebody like Kobe Bryant say that you have to get up every day and think about yourself yesterday, how can I improve myself today? And
Yes.
then at the end of the day, look back and go, am I a better version today than I was yesterday? Then I had and then I accomplished my day. But tomorrow you start over, and you do that for years, he said.
Uh-huh.
I mean,
Uh-huh.
this is Kobe Bryant, man. Rest
Uh-huh.
in peace. One of my most favorite players ever, and the man just kept improving. And you would think, how much more can somebody like that improve? Every day to the last day on this earth, he was trying to improve himself. So that's a journey that never ends. MJ
Yeah.
said very similar things to Michael Jordan.
Yes.
These guys were constantly just out doing what they did yesterday. It wasn't competition against other people for the most
No.
part. It was competing against themselves each and every day. I always tell my staff, Brian, I said, because they go, hey, did you hear that another restaurant opened 2 blocks from here? I'm like, don't worry about the guys out there. Your competition is inside these 4 walls. You worry about what we do. We execute every day perfectly. We worry about our mission statements. We worry about our corporate values. And don't worry about those guys. Okay. We do what we're supposed to do because your competition is yourself. And here, when you get up and you come here
Yes.
and you go, how am I gonna do better today than I did yesterday? And
Quit
and I
comparing
preach
yourself to
that and I
everybody else.
preach that and I preach that
Yeah.
and I preach that. But we tend to compare ourselves and look at how much money this guy's making and how this restaurant is doing this. And it's like, focus on what's in front of you. That's your goal.
Correct. No, I
Yeah.
love that. And I would completely do that. Um, it's nice having a live audience here. So okay, so we skipped over. I've got a live audience at 2. Oh, at least right here. The rest of them are in the room listening to their own spill. All right, so go back to your book. Give me a book. I'm always looking like I've gotten addicted to running and listening to books, and I'll take notes. Like I'll speak as I run. And I've got like 30 something pages or 40 something pages now, or just notes from the books over the last couple of years. Give me a book.
Man, listen, when I worked for Papa's, they were some of the greatest educators that I ever worked for because they forced us as managers to read books.
Yes.
Seven Habits, The 1 Minute Manager,
Huh?
in Search of Excellence. I mean, it was like we had to do book reports and bring them to the manager meetings, and that to me was more valuable than anything I did at the University of Houston, and as a college student. Um, because I was learning hands-on, and we discussed it every week, and it was intentional. So those are great books. You asked me to pick my favorite book, and I'm gonna I do. You're not gonna be surprised by this, but it's probably not what your audience is expecting. Listen, I don't know what topic you're looking for, but if you're looking for romance, if you're looking for violence, if you're looking for a guide to how to lead your life, if you're looking to how to treat others, pick up your Bible, man. I don't want to be cheesy. I don't want to preach. I don't want to sound like I'm hitting everybody over the head with the Bible, but pick up the best-selling book ever
Hmm.
and get into it and read the Word of God, and He will tell you everything you need to know about yourself, about your family, about your career, about the world, about everything.
Yes.
It's a very complex book. It's not a book like you can read through it on an audiobook. Although, if you download a couple of apps, you could read the whole thing just by listening
Yes.
while you're walking your dog or whatever. But to me, that as I gotten older, isn't that sad? That as we get older, that's when wisdom starts kicking in.
That's
As
our
I've gotten
gift,
old,
though. That's the
as I've
gift
gotten,
that we're given.
oh man, I wish I had realized that in my 20s and 30s. I would have been a lot further along right now. But you know, it's the book that I default to the most now, um, because I just keep learning, even after I've read something a million times, and then I read it and I go, oh. That's okay. I didn't see that before. And then I have to go back and reread that chapter. And Brian, I know that's not what you were expecting
That's
because
exactly what I was expecting.
we were we were supposed to book. I mean, I could turn my camera and show you my library of management books and all that stuff. But that's the one book that's changing my life more than anything else right now,
You know,
honestly. So
and the funny thing is, and I'm going to be very controversial here, we as a society put pressure on those that are believers to not speak up because they're believers. Whereas if you read the Bible, it tells you to speak up. But I don't really care if you're a believer or a non believer, it doesn't matter. The words that are there are impactful if you let them to be, whether you believe or not. Now, if you believe, they have a lot more emotion, a lot more connection. But for those that don't, it's a great book just to guide you through life.
Mhm. And if you want to read drama or violence
Oh my God.
or countries being conquered or blood or sex or romance, there's a book in there for all of that, man. The Bible is rated R in many chapters. So yeah, I highly recommend that to anybody who's trying to figure out what book can I read. Talk about all these self-help books, man.
Yes.
Pick up a Bible. You'll help yourself a lot more than the bestseller out there on Amazon right now. That's
It's
my two
amazing.
cents. That's my 2 cents. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to break in though because I'm way behind. And this is my natural. This is why we're doing just a conversation. Today is my sixth podcast, and it's called "What Makes You Tick," an authentic, relaxed, purposeful conversation about trust, clarity, and traction. Why? To help incorporate your purpose into what you do and the impact you have on everybody's life and your own life, which you set that up so perfectly so far. So how do you do it? By sharing business and personal stories and building a culture of trust, creating clear, impactful message as a leader. We're all leaders regardless. I walk into class every day. I didn't want to go back to teaching. The last year, after being 7 years out, the one thing that I would tell myself is that I might be the only positive energy that kid sees in a day. So I'm going to
Mhm.
be that because I'm a leader? No, because that's just what we should be doing as people.
Yep.
That is
Yep.
trust. My guest today, Ulises Larramendi. Great conversation so far. So, all right, so let's move on to our next topic, and which is kind of funny because one of the things we're all experts in something, and there's some expertise. You were talking about wisdom. That's what we are. Mine is sports, and I tell my son started a pressure washing business, and I tell him now because my business failed or did fail, but it didn't go well. It ended fairly quickly. And because of the stuff I did at Gordon, because of the education, all of that has mounted up. I had to go through that because that wisdom I give to him. My older son, same thing. He got into some trouble because of some random stuff that happened to me when I was younger. Because I went through that experience, I can relate it to him, and that makes me an expertise. Now, granted, you and I can talk food all day because we know the food business fairly well. So, anything? What are you an expert in that you love giving advice on?
Well, I think because I've been in the business for 4 decades, that's what qualifies me. And ran some successful operations, including my own. Restaurants don't last 20 years unless you're doing something right. So I feel very blessed that even with the ups and downs and losing the other store to a hurricane and everything that we've gone through in the last 20 years, which you've witnessed up front yourself. I think hospitality is my expertise, and I would say, it's like I when I interviewed to be hired as a general manager for the Palm, I flew to Washington and I had dinner with our vice president of operations, Walter McClure, and Walter just basically asked me, said, "Why should we hire you?" And I said, "Because I know how to run restaurants." And it was a very simple answer, Brian, but I don't know, there was something about the way I said it or the confidence that I said it with that he goes, "I believe you.
He
We're
could
done
trust you.
here. We're
He could
done here."
absolutely trust you. Yeah.
He trusted that what I said came from the heart and it was based on reality and I wasn't blowing smoke
Yes.
because I said I know how to run a restaurant. I do, and I at that point I didn't know what I didn't know yet. Uh, because when you run restaurants for other people, even as a GM, you're given a lot of tools. You have a
Yeah.
lot of tools handed to you. You have a lot of departments that can help you. And when I opened my own, I had to relearn a lot of stuff because now
Yes.
you're everybody.
Yes.
Your marketing, your repairs and maintenance, your culinary, your service, your training, so that was a lesson I learned later on in life. But I feel pretty confident that that's my expertise.
Yeah.
I can sit down with people, and over the years, people have come and I've given them free advice. Hey, I'm about to open a coffee shop. Can I pick your brains? Sure, let's find out. Sometimes the advice I've given them has led to them not opening a coffee shop
Yeah.
because I scared them half to death. But listen, you have to know the reality of what you're getting into. You know,
Yes.
when we were being certified to be adopting parents, the people that were trying to teach us what was coming did not hold back. And out of the 20 something couples that started that certification, only 3 couples ended the whole thing after a year because they scared the other ones away. And she knew that the 6 people that were in that room were really doing it for the right reason.
Right.
We I think I can give advice on that based on all the years I've had. It's just been a lot of lessons, man.
Now, in the
Um,
restaurant business, you know as well as I do, we talked earlier, it can be very difficult. And you scaring off those people is just being honest with them, being clear in the path.
yeah,
And it has nothing, because I've thought about my own several times, Cajun
yeah,
restaurant, those things. But I honestly, it doesn't match my purpose. I love to
yeah.
cook for people. I don't want to make it for a job.
And most of them were just not ready. They were looking at a romantic idea of what they wanted to have,
Yeah.
but they weren't thinking of all the other stuff that only someone from the inside could tell them.
Right.
And I don't feel bad that I scared them into not opening a restaurant. I'm glad that they didn't lose their butts
Correct.
after spending $400,000 or $500,000 on a business that was going to fail because they were going in with the wrong idea.
Yeah.
Now, there are a couple that went through and learned valuable lesson, and they coupled what I said with what the franchisor said, and now they're very successful franchisees. And amen, and God bless them. That was I think is also a success story. But
But
yeah,
even that's but that's part of the negative. Like, one of the things that you have to go through is a negative moment or negative times in your life, because those are the biggest, for me, the biggest thing that I ever went through that was negative, that made the biggest impact for me, was my divorce, because I
mm,
was always wanting to be a family man, and it challenged me. You were talking about Michael Jordan earlier and Kobe. It challenged me to be better every day. And when I could
mhm,
look back, I did a great job, but I must have not done something right. And part of it is funny, is if we were having a conversation, nothing against my ex, because we have a very good standing relationship. But I wouldn't have married it in the first place, because I
mm,
knew there were things there that were red flags, that it wasn't negative or positive. It was just those things that you could see that didn't match up. It's like finding a business partner, and if you don't complement each other correctly, your
yeah,
business is going to fail.
yeah,
So
yeah,
being able to go through that for me has made me look at life different. My energy today is different. My
yeah.
my relationship with my kids is so
You,
much
you learn from that experience. Absolutely.
better. What about you? Do you have any of those experiences, or one
Well,
that stick out in your
I,
mind?
I, I do, I do. And just a little side note, Maria and I were married 18 months and then divorced.
Oh,
And
that's right.
then we got remarried a year later. Um, Once I figured out, that I had totally screwed up and she figured out she had screwed up, we were very mature
Yeah.
and we were not ready for the responsibility that that partnership required. So then once we put it back together, that was 30 years ago. But yeah, I went through that too, man. I went through that separation and it was a learning experience, and to the point to where today, even with because couples have problems. Every
Yes.
couple has problems. Don't give me
Yes.
any crap about we never argue. That's not a
Oh,
good
yeah.
marriage.
Yeah.
And you know, when we have really really tough times, I think, well, I'm not doing that again.
Yeah.
So this better work, and I need to make it work. So I'm going to do whatever it takes to make it work because I'm not doing that a second time. So, anyways, that puts aside. Um, I was fired at what I thought was the height of my career as a director of operations in South Florida.
Yeah.
I was let go, and I was riding high, full of myself, thinking that I had everything figured out. I was the man, Brian. And the owner of this small company at the time, I think by now he has like maybe 20 or 30 units. But at the time, we had opened four restaurants successfully, and I
Wow.
was his director of operations. And he let me go. And I was working my fanny off. I thought I was doing a great job. We've opened four units. Why? And he wanted to go in a different direction. He wanted to hire someone that he had chemistry with, and
Right.
and I was let go, man. And that put me on my knees. That taught me a lot of lessons. That made me realize, I let me look back at every mistake I made. Did I make myself irreplaceable?
Yeah.
Did I make myself that individual that the company says we can't possibly do it without Ulysses? No, I didn't. I didn't fill every gap. I didn't answer all those questions that the owners had. I didn't have all the solutions that they couldn't come up with themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I was let go. It was, I was easily replaced.
But
And
they,
that
but you,
taught and that
you
taught
weren't
me
their person.
that taught me it's never going to happen again. I'm either going to be my own boss, so no one can fire me, which
Uh-huh.
eventually I did. Eventually I did. But the next position that I secured as a GM for the Palm, and eventually a director of operations for the Palm, um, I made myself. I made myself that guy. You're not going to be able to run this region if I leave. In fact, when I told Wally and Bruce, I want to open my own place, so I'm leaving in August. This was January. They said, "Is there any way that you can continue to go to San Diego and run that store? Because I mean, we hope that it takes longer than August for you to run that, to open your restaurant." Because they had a need for what I was offering, and that you got to put yourself in that position that the company goes, "Damn, I can't believe this guy's going to leave," right?
Yeah.
So that was the biggest lesson for me. Make yourself irreplaceable.
I like that. Yeah. That's, the other, and we look at, I did for a long period of my life too. You look at those opportunities as they're done, they're dead. Whereas him letting you go did you one of the greatest favors ever.
It did. It did.
And if you stay there, then you may not have had any of the opportunities that you've had moving forward.
Well, the only way we grow is if we put ourselves in uncomfortable situations.
Absolutely.
If we stay in a comfortable spot, we never grow. And
Yeah.
it helped me grow in many ways. It made me
Yeah.
more humble, made me more open to possibilities that I never thought were going to come my way. It made me realize, man, it's not about you. You have to serve the bigger purpose, the bigger operation. You have to be part of a team. You have to be the bigger man and be humble, right? I mean, I know those two are maybe contradicting, but yeah, and
It's not.
it made me realize what I have forgotten that Harris Papas taught me. You cannot be the smartest guy in the room.
I had a professor in college that would say all the time, the smartest man is the man that knows that he doesn't know.
He doesn't know. Put together a team of people that have incredible skills and expertise that you would never acquire or be able to reach, and make them part of your team and make them serve your purpose. And that makes your team so much stronger. People always ask you, say, are you cooking tonight? Are you back there leading the kitchen? I'm like, man, I got guys back there that are 100 times better than I am. Why would I get in their way? No,
Right.
I got a culinary group right now that can execute the food that is bringing all these people in. I have no business being back there. You know,
Yeah.
now you still got to pay attention and watch your food costs and let them know how that pasta marsala is supposed to look. but I'm not going to go back there and teach them how to saute. They know that better than I do. They do it every
Everybody
day.
knows.
I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So let me do a quick reset. So thank you for listening to this podcast with me, What Makes You Tick, with Ulysses and I are having an authentic, purposeful, conversational trust, clarity, and traction. If you have any questions or comments, please put them in. I'd love to have any questions as we run the next 10 or 15 minutes. And so far, you've seen some of the takeaways that we've had, and it's just a discussion on, whatever we feel can make an impact on somebody's life. One of the things that I do, there's a couple of things that I do want to hit before we get out of here. One of them is advice. I'm going to let you speak because this is my show and I want to hear it from you. Give me some advice that you would give somebody on their dreams and making them a reality, because you sit there.
um, this might sound kind of technical, but if you have a dream, uh, make it very specific and write it down. Write it down with some bullet points as to how you're going to achieve that dream. Not a lot, just two or three, but write down the dream, the big dream. I want to own my own restaurant. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that's your dream. All right. Bullet points. I'm going to learn every position along the way, climb up through with other companies until I learn everything I can. And then when I feel like I'm ready, I'm going to go to a bank and I'm going to get the money and open my own restaurants. Make it a very disciplined, systematic, structured thing. Don't just have a dream and have no plan. And then I would, as I did, post that dream on your wall where you can see it every day.
Yeah.
Because every morning you're going to get up and you're going to look at your dream and you're going to be reminded there's too much noise, Brian. There's too much distraction. There's too much social media that can take you away from focusing on your dream. There's too many conversations that will lead you astray. So if you stay focused and it's written and you always go back to it and remember what that passionate dream was,
Correct.
you will get to that goal. The second thing, and probably most important thing that should come after you've figured out that dream, is you lay it at God's feet. Again, you're interviewing a person that my whole life is dependent on God's grace.
Mm-hmm.
And you take your dream and you say, Lord, this is what I want to be. This is what I want to do. Bless that and open the doors for me to go through them. And if that's not what you want for my life, close those doors so hard on my face that I realize that my dream is not according to your plans. And then direct me in that way. So lay it before the Lord and write it down and be focused on it. Because, like I said, everything around you, man, is going to distract you. Before you know it, you're doing something completely different and going, man, I had a dream. I don't know what happened. Well, you exited the wrong exit on the freeway and it took you down a U-turn, and now God knows where you are because you don't have a map anymore.
Exactly. Yes.
That's my biggest advice for anybody who has a dream and pursuing it. And always be open. Be open to changing lanes because the Lord might say, I have a much bigger plan for your life.
Uh-huh.
So you have to balance that. So anyway, that's been my journey.
You have to trust. There has to be some. Yeah, one of the things I think people get misunderstanding is when we say trust. When somebody says trust, what's the first thing that comes to your head?
Is this guy gonna? I mean, I don't trust this person. He's gonna do something wrong with the information I'm gonna give him. I don't know.
No, and that's the way most people think immediately is. But we forget to trust ourselves.
Right.
We forget to trust who we are, and we get lost in, like you were talking about, social media. You're looking at social media on a consistent basis. Look, I've got this is being posted on LinkedIn. You can look at all this and you can get lost, or you can use it for a great purpose.
Right.
And you can use it for something that you do. But if you don't trust yourself, you're not getting anywhere on any dream that you want.
Yeah. And if you have if you're in an industry where you're solo and things mostly depend on your performance, that's different. But in an industry like mine where it's all so team oriented,
Yes.
as the leader of my team, man, if they don't trust me, it's over because I'm going to be fighting their lack of trust every single day.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think my team understands where my heart is. I
Yes.
think they understand how committed I am to the restaurant and their success. So
Yes.
they gotta hear it over and over, and they have to see you, enact those words and make them a reality. Because when you say if you do well, the
Yes.
restaurant will do well.
Correct.
If you make money tonight, that means I'm making money. And you put them first. And when they realize, okay, so he's really concerned about me.
Uh-huh.
Every time I hear about all these operators who steal tips from their waiters, I'm like, you're shooting yourself in the foot. The
Uh-huh.
more successful that server is, the more successful you are. I have servers who make mistakes, Brian, and it costs me money sometimes,
Correct.
but they're so people love these people. They're good for business, right? So I
Yes.
have to look at their mistakes and go, I'll live with those because there's 200 people walking through that door every week to
Because
see
of them.
this person.
They're the face of you.
Exactly. So it's
Yeah.
not about me. It's not about Eden. It's about these people. And they know that, and they know I feel that way about them. So they trust. They're working at a place where they know what to expect every day when they walk in the door, you
Yeah.
know, which I can also use to hold it against them and say, you expect me to be the same every day. Um, I need you to be consistent and be the same every day too,
It's the
because
same.
I gotta trust I'm getting the same server
Correct.
every day
Yep.
because you're getting the same Ulysses every day. So let's
Yes.
be consistent in our relationship.
It's just when I coach, it's the same thing. There's no difference. It's the same when you coach. It's the same in any type of leadership role, and that's
Yeah.
where look. We could have a whole new podcast on where we can get better as a society from a business standpoint because we
Yeah.
look at what's your background, what do you do. Some of the best, and I'm the example. Some of the best positions and people you have are the ones that you take a chance on. Why? Because you teach them trust. They trust you, and you believe in them, and they'll do whatever they can, and they'll bust their
Right.
butt.
Right.
I know we've got about no more than 10 minutes left. There is two things I want to talk about. One, tell us about your acting career. I want to know about your acting career. Tell the audience. Just give them a brief overview because it's
Uh,
amazing what you've done.
Man, I've been blessed to do some performance on the side. I started when I was in a little bit of high school and then mostly college and stage work, some theater work, and just found that I enjoyed telling stories and being in front of an audience. Man, being in the restaurant every day, you're on stage, right?
Yes.
It's so, but telling stories. And then as I've grown older, it has kind of focused more and more and more into faith-based work. So, these days I pursue roles that are mostly about that, glorifying God, getting the message out, helping people get over trauma with God's help. So, done a couple of films on post-traumatic stress.
Yes.
I've been involved with The Chosen as a background extra and a featured extra. The Chosen TV series about Christ. Uh, have done some work with the First Century Comedy that's coming out this fall. Empty Nets is the name of it. Did a
Net
couple of
as in NEST or NETS.
NETS, Empty Nets.
Okay, good. Okay.
It's a small fishing village in First Century,
Yeah.
and it's Christ is talked about in the story, but he's not a character in the story. But
Okay.
we know of him, and it's a comedy, but it's beautifully done. And I'm the least comedic character in the show because I serve as the spiritual mentor to the lead, who is incredibly funny,
Right.
Leland
Right.
Class. But anyways, just I find it enriching. I find performing and acting it's a lot of fun. My wife sometimes has to deal with two or three characters that are in the shower rehearsing lines, and she has no idea who she's married to. You know.
Wait, but that
but
keeps it interesting, right?
But well, she doesn't know if I have a Hebrew accent or if I'm playing Paul, which is something that I was, after I did my role with We Are Stronger as Vic with
Yes.
a soldier with post traumatic stress. I said, God, I need another role that will impact lives like this, that will help veterans with their trauma.
Yes.
And he laid the story of Paul at my feet, man. And we're trying to get that off the ground with funding. But playing Paul, the last 3 years, I've studied so much on the man, the Apostle Paul. You and I are sitting here today as believers because of Paul. Because I don't think you're Jewish. I'm not
No.
Jewish. So the only way that we were able to attain that was through Paul's work to the non-Jewish community. So
Correct.
anyhow, that's a little bit about it. I could talk. You'd have another podcast on everything we're trying to do with that. But I do that when I can. My bread and butter still the restaurant business.
Right.
But yeah, acting has been an incredible blessing to me and the people that I've worked with and gotten to know.
Yeah, we've talked about your dreams and how important through this whole episode. Look, we've got a couple more minutes. The one thing I'd always love to end with is if you were going to give advice to the younger generation, you look at our younger generation, there's a lot of challenges that they have and that they're going to have that they're not seeing. If there's any advice that you would want to give them moving forward on trust, clarity, and traction, how important it is, what would you give them?
We Bryan, we talk a lot about most of our young people these days that they feel entitled to a future. They feel like they somehow they have to have certain things, that people were going to give them certain things. My advice, I know it's not what people want to hear, but there's no such thing as the free ride. There's no such thing as, I'm entitled to this. You just need to, if you're in college, get into an internship and don't wait till you finish your degree to look for a job.
Yeah.
Start internships, even if they're free and you don't get paid anything, because you're going to meet people and you're going to learn the trade and you're going to learn if what you're studying is what you want to do in the first place.
Right.
But you're going to have to get up early and go to bed late, even before you even land that first dream job. No one's going to hand you anything. No one's going to give you because you show up with a college degree with a 4.8 GPA, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? In the real world, there's 10,000 guys just like you. It's the same thing with me in acting. I don't, there's 12 guys auditioning when I go to an audition that look just like me and are better than me. I better have my game on,
Right.
and impress that producer and that director. In the restaurant business, there's a ton of culinary people out there that are incredibly gifted. You think my burger is better than theirs? I've got to figure out what's going to bring that guy through the door, because it's not my chicken marsala. Other people can do chicken marsala just as good as mine.
Yes.
So what sets me apart? So young people, figure out how to set yourself apart. No one's going to give you anything. Throw away entitlement in the trash and get ready to grind and grind and grind, because that's the only way.
Yeah, and what to lead on that, and it's one of my big things, is failure a lot of times teaches us exactly what we need to see and puts us exactly where we need to be. But there's so many people out there. Look, I was one of them. For a long time in my life, I was afraid of failure until I went through failure and went, wait a second, I'm here for a reason. And one of the things that you get out of failure is, whether you're a believer or not, it doesn't matter. I know you are. But I always ask the question, and this is where I started figuring out, God, what am I supposed to learn in this moment? What are you teaching me? And if you're not a believer, just ask, what am I supposed to learn? Because there's something there to take forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you have to be willing to put yourself out there and fail. Otherwise, you're going to fail anyway.
I love to listen to to Michael Jordan when he says things like, I was given the final shot 180 times and missed 176 times. It's like, how many
Yes,
failures did that man have? And yet we think of him as the greatest player who ever touched the basketball, if you're in my generation.
correct. I'm in your
You
generation,
know,
so we're good.
failing teaches you lessons. Don't be afraid to fail. I tell my sons all the time, right now in their 20s, this
Yes.
is the time to, if you want to open your own business and risk it, do it now.
Yep.
Go out there and take chances now, because
Yes.
you'll recover from a failure in your 20s and your 30s. But if you fail when you're 50, it's going to be a little tougher.
You're gonna look like this guy right here. Look, man, a great conversation. Loved having you on, and thank you very
Thanks for
much.
having me. Thanks for
Yeah,
having me. I'm honored to be in your show.
thank you. And go see him. Go meet him. It's give you your address
33418 Egypt Lane, Magnolia, Texas,
if you're in Magnolia. It's
77354.
by the big Home Depot. It
Yeah,
is
and it's
great.
edentable.com is our website. Edentable, one word.com. And you'll see all kinds of information there, and the menu. That's a pretty central place to go.
Oh, thank you so much. And for me, I'm going to continue. It's been an honor to be here. It's been like 3 or 4 people I've seen walk by and I wave here at Houston Energy and Climate Week kickoff, which will be in September. Look for more of that to come, and hopefully, you guys can connect. If you have any questions for Ulises or myself, please reach out. I'm on LinkedIn. Connect with me. I'd always love to grow my connections because that's what we're here for. We're here to connect people. You were talking earlier. Look, I had to go back to teaching, and I'm good with it because I'm good with the kids. But man, I miss the interaction of people, and my energy is much better when I miss this. So thank you so much, Ulises. Thank you all for joining us. And if you're watching this recorded, thank you so much for watching recorded. Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
See
Bryan.
you.